Well, hello there and happy holidays, Cozy Club. Welcome back in, my friends, as we've got ourselves a brand new December tier list as promised. The PvP December tier list is here. And my friends, Gear 9 has been out for a good amount of time now, which has allowed the PvP meta to settle so that we can properly rank every single character within the game. Now, as you guys know, typically we do an overall tier list, but with last month being a raid-specific tier list, we now have a PvP tier list to match them both up, as that one is plenty viable still, and this will help you guys out that like PvP and want to see where these characters are. So by looking at both of the tier lists, you can get a good idea to how much you should prioritize farming each and every one. I am absolutely excited and ecstatic to tell you guys that Cozy Christmas is making its return. You guys can see the graphic right here. We will be giving away a boatload of stuff, some of it within DSA like Delta Runes, character unlocks, costumes, and then we've got some cool tech stuff like AirPods and then some other tricks up my sleeve. So if you guys want to go ahead and just get free stuff, come on by the Twitch stream on Wednesday at 4 p.m. PST. We're going to be doing all sorts of good stuff. We are going to be festive and celebrate the holidays together. And you guys just give me so much support. And the best thing I can do is give back in return. And then also a big thanks to the developers that are going to be backing a lot of these giveaways. So excited about that. I will see you on Wednesday. Let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Alrighty, Cozy Club. Now, per usual, we're going to be going through 8 different tiers, ranging from F tier being the worst, all the way up to S tier. Now, within the tiers, going from left to right, you're going to be finding these ranked within order in their tiers. We're going to be taking a look at all 137 characters within the game, and the year is 2024, and I don't know, there's 300 characters in the game, and it takes the better part of a decade to get one of these tier list videos done. Now, as always, let's start off with the dumpster fire tier within the F tier. Now, these characters most desperately need a rework, and even in Summoner Showdown, they struggled to produce massively. We're not going to waste a bunch of time here, but in short, unless you need these characters for a legendary like Mrs. Potts, you're just going to ignore them completely. That is, if Glue doesn't decide to take this list and, buff those characters for a future event, then maybe you want to, roll the dice and invest in some of these bad boys. However, I will say this is probably the last time you're going to see our boy Hermes here. He has graced his presence in the F tier for really since he's been released, and Zeus's arrival is definitely going to amp him up. Zeus will change some of the placements. I try to take into account a lot of those placements when we look at each and every tier. Let's move on over to the D tier, guys, and simply put, it's about the same, guys. Everyone does a better job within the game, and they're just missing something in their kit that can't quite get them to be competitive in today's meta. Again, they're going to need either a buff or something or a character to come out to help them become relevant within the PvP combat. And that being said, I do want to let you guys know that I would probably focus on the raid tier list a bit more when scaling who to farm, as honestly, we know that the next content update, the Club Expeditions, like we released earlier this week, is going to be PvE focused. Now, that being said, we know PvP will probably get the game mode next, but just some food for thought. Now we are on the C tier, and guys, we will be going through and explaining why each character is placed where they are, or at least summarize a lot of them. But this is still not worth an awful lot of our time. The C tier, they're very niche, right? Their stats, their kits, their abilities, they're all pretty outdated. And if you dedicate an entire team, they can work sometimes, but overall, it's best to avoid them. A great example here is someone like Horn King. If you put him with, full mythical villains, he can work a little bit. He can be fast, but it takes a lot of abilities, a lot of upgrades, and it's just not worth it for PvP standards. But now we come to some relevance and some characters that you're going to start seeing a little bit more often. You're not going to see these all too much unless you're in the lower rankings, and some of these can be, better in the mid game and early game, but most of these aren't that great. And like I always say, you want to invest in characters that will be good for the long haul of your DSA journey. So we've got the B tier here. Let's go ahead and begin. Starting with Maurice, we have the Summoner Extraordinaire, guys. He's waiting for his chance for more summons of impact to come into the game, but he can do some nice things, and I really enjoy his fixed up in no time to soup up some of the better characters on the field. We have Jack Sparrow, and Jack Sparrow, he can go ahead and create a lot of great AoEs. You're going to need to have Frank, and he doesn't nearly rank this high if you don't have Frank the Tank, as that leadership is going to really amp up his overall effectiveness to steal turn meter. Now, he still does have a double charm, and he can do okay. He has great offense, and his stats aren't bad. However, I would wait for Pirates of the Caribbean to come out for this guy. Good old Goofy. Guys, I still don't know who Miss Goofy is. We know Max exists. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments. But they did fix his basic. He is much better than he was before. He's still painfully slow and pretty lackluster, but I do like him in some game modes, and I don't know. He's not the worst. Now we have the majority of the Incredibles and Miss Incredible, Violet, Bob, and of course we have Jack. Their day is coming, and fully invested at max abilities, they're actually really good, and you can see them in some of the higher up tiers. You got to go all in on them. However, can anyone say Edna mode? I think we're kind of looking for a couple support characters, like Lilo with the Oceanics. I think Edna can supercharge these guys, or they might get a refresh with the new club expeditions incoming. The Queen of Hearts. Now, her minions are fun. There's much better villain options. That's the main problem. Like, if you're going to run a villain team, she's not going to make the cut. She is mythical. She is an SC, which is nice. Her silence is great. She can do some surprising damage, but again, just better options. Now, speaking of better options, we've got King Candy. I like the Candy. He can definitely supercharge the best spell in the game, which is the best part of him. Unless we get more sweetened mechanics, he's going to stay right around here. Now, him and Big Bad Wolf, they can do some great things, and Big Bad's got a lot of damage. However, they're just painfully slow. I mean, they just cannot get fast enough to do reliable things consistently. Judy. We got Officer Hobbs, guys. Very solid leadership here with tickable offense, especially at gear 9. However, very lackluster stats in overall health. You can pretty much just one-shot her on the battlefield. And decent abilities. If she got great health, Judy would be like amazing. But until then, I wouldn't invest too much. And then we have Olaf, who is extremely lucky that he has the mythical tag, and he's slowly climbing out of this. Don't be surprised if he goes even further with, the arrival of Zeus, and who knows, maybe Frozen gets a refresh. But Olaf can do some great things with the extension of Helpfuls, and pair him up with Elsa for some awesome damage. So guys, here you go. We're going to scroll through the entire B tier. Hopefully you guys got a good understanding of most of the characters and why they are here. Now, quickly, Cozy Club, as you guys know, I posted this on my Instagram and on my Twitter. It's been about a year since I've been full-time content creating. You guys have allowed me to pursue my dreams, and truly, I can't do this alone, and so I really just want to take a moment and say thank you to you guys. So if you do want to consider supporting and keeping the dream alive, take a quick second and hit that subscribe button. Or if you want to go the extra mile, guys, you can support me as a creator to allow me to keep doing what I'm doing here by going to my Patreon. I'll put the link down below, and you guys can join that today as well. Let's go ahead and get to the next tier. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the B+ tier. These characters can work in a lot of teams, and guys, the reason I'm talking about a lot of these characters more specifically is I want you guys to truly understand, even at the risk of a longer video, I think it's worth knowing why a lot of them rank where they do. So looking at the B tier, we have the likes of Gaston, who's a very good tank with some of the highest health within the game. Looking at his stats and his passive, he can really boost the villains around him. However, the rest of his kit is just kind of meh. Now, Calhoun, Korra, and Robin Hood can all do a lot of impressive things. They've got some great abilities, and with the right team, they're awesome. But they are missing a little bit of zest to really push them up anything past this B+ ranking. Now, Corella just continues to baffle me. She has some hilariously amazing synergies that can just be ridiculous, and with the villain, she's awesome. One day, I think she's going to be even better, but that month is not in December. Oh, Experiment 626, guys. Stitch really just needs a rework. It's really a shame that you need to pretty much freeze him with Frozone or Barley Bomb to get any really viability. Like, he's not even close to the best Oceanic, and it's just an iconic character that I would like to see buffed. Now, Yokai is very interesting. He has one of the fastest T9 characters within the game, and he has good summons. He is elite in Club Conquest for those who care, and a bit lackluster everywhere else. I think he does need a little bit of a touch-up if he wants to be really great, or just other tech characters that can boost around him. Pass. Looking at Eve, she is close to being great. Like, good stats, good abilities. Keep an eye on her when tech gets more characters, or if Wally ever gets that bug fixed in the year 2090. Peter Pan. Peter Pan has some solid debuffs, and when he's with Oceanics, he can really pack a punch. There are better Oceanics to run, but if I do run an Oceanic team, I like to have Peter Pan on there. Overall, his PvP viability is not the dependent of others, putting him at the B+ category. And lastly, who we're going to talk about is Scrooge. Guys, keep your eyes on Scrooge. I think that his viability is really going to jump up with Zeus in his leadership. I think a combination of the helpful effects with Money Dive, with the cooldown on #1 dime, he's going places. All right, now onward to the A tier. Even though those two are in the A+ tier, we've got the Rescue Rangers. Now, I'll be honest, guys, you either have to be all in for the Rescue Rangers, who could debatably be the top of A+ tier, or they're all in the F, like D, C tier. They're not great separate at all. You got to go all in with your ruins and the ability and gear upgrades, or all out. Jafar, guys, he might get a rework with Club Expeditions. He is lightning fast for control, but outside of that, guys, his passive and his charm are great. Times running out could definitely be better, and I do hope they touch up his kit. We have Goliath, who is an awesome tank. We did a full review on him if you want to check that out. Guys, he's like a better Quasimodo. He is very solid altogether and does a lot well. Expect him to climb more and more, and with all the gargoyles, he's elite. He just has to be with them to be efficient. Mr. Mickey Mouse. He's going to be our lowest ranking legendary PvP-wise. He is a good distraction. Altogether works pretty well with Cauldron, and you could argue he could be an A+. I felt like he probably should settle here, as Maleficent has a better Disneyland Forever, and he's much better on defense, but again, Maleficent now counters that. So he's going to be placed at the top of A tier. Man, I love Randall. He is seriously awesome. He has 2 moves that give him instant turns upon death of an enemy. Great damage, really great survivability and self-healing. I love him. I run him even at the top of metas, but he needs to be with the right team like Mike Wazowski. All right, guys, A tier coming in pretty small. We have a more top-heavy meta within DSA for A+ in S tier. Essentially, the A tier needs to rely on other characters to make them great. There are a few like one-offs that do this to a better value. That's why they're ranked a little higher. We've got the A+ tier. Let's go to it. For the most part, these characters are best in class. Arguably, a lot of these could be literally S tier in the right team against the right enemies with the right RNG, but more often than not, they're just missing just a hair to take them up to S tier. Guys, by all means, you can run these characters to great effectiveness in PvP, regardless if they're A+ or S. Demona is hands down one of the best damage dealers in the game. She does have to be with the others, but she does it to a better level, and overall, very solid investment. And the exact same can be said about both Donald Duck and Mulan. Top in class on damage, you just have to have them with the right team. But at tier 9, they are a true terror. Now, Ian and Barley are both A+, and they're probably the most consistent characters across tier list history. Ian bombs and Barley's speed keeps them both relevant and amazing. Ian is no doubt, though, going to be S tier if Zeus's kit stays the same. Now we've got Genie, who is a big riser since the last time you saw him, spiking up very largely when he goes to gear 9. He hits like a truck with a basic that scales higher and higher. He can save lives before they die, which is clutch in this meta at the moment, keeping someone like Frozone or Tiana alive long enough so they can support and do their part as well. Pain and Panic are still very good. However, there's a major bug, no surprise there, with Stasis at the moment that's going to drop them and their master pretty considerably. Because of how Stasis is working, it's just going to take them down because Hercules Beasts, some of these characters aren't quite as easy to freeze. Both Mike and Sully are incredible, guys. They could arguably be in the S tier. Now, Mike is going to be wild. He is one of the best supports in the game. He is a huge snowballing character over the course of the battle. His passive packs a major punch. You do have to invest a lot into him. And when together, I could probably argue them in S tier. However, apart, we're going to put them both around this A+ ranking. And trust me, even without Mike, Sully is just awesome. Great damage, survivability with Mike or without. Now, Baymax, he's tough, right? I don't know. Sometimes I want to put him in like B+. Others, he's really helpful. That pre-taunt can help out. We're going to keep him here mainly because of the cleansing at an AoE rate that he can do and a little bit of healing. He does call for distraction, but there's just too many ways to take care of this guy now. Xanatos. My gosh, guys. Xanatos is amazing on any team. His summon units are awesome. The only thing that keeps him out of S, in my opinion, is his health is not great. 19,000, that's only a couple more thousand than the likes of like Judy, but he does his job very well, and he is lightning fast. Zerg is Zerg. Maui is, well, Maui. He's got a great lead, and at Gear 9, it gets even better with a 30% increase. And Dash is finally starting to get a lot better. And that's mainly because we're going to have a sports analogy here because, guys, I love NFL. Go Patriots. It's like the best wide receiver on a team. When you have a second wide receiver that's great, he might get more stats and do a lot better because all the attention is going to the main guy in the field, taking their biggest distractions. Whereas now Dash, he can appropriately do the damage in the job because he's no longer like the biggest threat on the field. Now, as for Miguel and Lily, they're both great. Miguel's a solid lead with mythicals, and Lily is Lily. She's just a beast of a unit. However, why both of them are ranked so high is because of the newly found mechanic with one of the best characters in the game, Maleficent. You see, Maleficent has this giant ability called Enthrall that takes over your character, and if it's cleanse, it's going to do massive damage. However, recently discovered if it's flipped, it's not going to do any damage. So we've got Miguel, Belle, and a few others like Lily that flips helpfuls or harmfuls into helpfuls, making them a whole lot more viable within PvP. Now we've got Raya and Namari. Both of these are pretty tough, right? They call a lot of attention to themselves, so they die pretty quickly. Raya is going to be in the A+ tier as of now, but when Zeus comes out, she'll skyrocket to the S tier. And we'll talk about Namari as we head to the best in class in the S tier. Guys, we have a little bit more S tier characters this time around. With how the meta is looking, I'm excited to present to you the best characters currently at a most consistent basis in these S tier units. Starting off with Frozone. Frozone is something, guys. His kit still feels crazy. His 3 undefeatables, his crit damage and crit chance up is bonkers. If he freezes one AoE damaging ally, you lose. Now, you guys remember I was talking about characters outside of factions not being as great. Namari's the exception. Her passive and her assassination is crazy. Under Kingdom Villains, one of the best in class. She's insane at Gear 9. If she gets a turn, you lose. Now, I've got Esmeralda in the S tier. This might shock a few people, but let's break it down why. Guys, if we go ahead and sort by speed, and we can really do this even if I had a full Gear 9 roster, she ranks as one of the fastest characters in the game. This allows Esmeralda to use Feast of Fools starting out that battle with 50%. She cleanses both passively and with abilities. She purges Jolly's insane, hitting 15k damage at times, and her other passive gives her survivability. Esmeralda is insane and finally deserves to be in the S tier. Shan Yu, Ursula, and Rapunzel all have great leaderships along with solid kits to help their respective factions, and they can do a lot to assist your team outside of that leadership. Belle continues to be great. Calling 2 allies to assist will never not be bonkers. She flips harmfuls, great passives, all around very solid character, and a great duo for one of the best characters in the game. And then at the end of this video, we've got like a tie amongst the best characters. It's too tough to rank these in order as they're all very, very solid characters that are huge difference makers in their own sense. You have Ralph, Frank the Tank the Rock, you have Hercules, Beast, Maleficent, and Tiana. Ralph is a PvP nightmare. He can single-handedly shut down a lot of the buff-heavy teams, while Frank is going to be one of the best leaders in the game. Massive turn meter reduction. He's pretty much impossible to kill, and he's going to continue to climb. Beast and Maleficent are both just insanity. You've got to like carefully like cut wires to a bomb when you face them, and they're definitely going to be ranked amongst the highest. But I do want to say, overall, I think Tiana might be my favorite, and that is because of what she truly offers differently than all these other characters. You see, Cozy Club, we're in a harmful effect meta, and Tiana is just busted. Her passive is so strong. Her Gumbo Pot is unreal. It's a better tank than half the characters we've talked about today. I did hundreds, and I mean hundreds of battles, and guys, statistically, teams with Tiana just do so much better than teams without. Truly, more of a difference maker than Maleficent, Hercules. Like, she is almost unreplaceable at the level of job that she does for a support character. So, my friends, all 137, soon to be 138 characters within the game. Here is the entire graphic. It'll be made available first on my Instagram and then on Discord. Like always, guys, I want you to comment down below. Who do you think should be ranked higher, maybe lower? I want to hear from you guys. Tell me your experience. And of course, guys, if you can take a second by liking this video, if we hit 500 likes, I'm going to go ahead and make an overall tier list for January. So take a second to do so if you haven't already. Subscribe to the club. And until next time, stay cozy.